Story 1. Making my brain practice asking the question, do you really need it or do you just want it? Story 2. Eat at home and stock up at Costco at the beginning of the year on toilet paper, dish soap, and laundry detergent, using coupons. Story 3. Packing my own coffee and snacks every day. It feels small, but skipping $6 coffees and $10 lunches adds up to thousands of dollars a year without even noticing. Story 4. I still drive my 2005 Camry. Some of my friends are on their fifth car or more and have spent many times more on cars than I have. Story 5. Prevent impulse spending by waiting 24 to 48 hours before buying something. More often than not, items you thought you wanted because they were on sale are no longer desired. Story 6. Always cook larger portions and freeze leftovers if you know you hate eating the same meal twice. Less waste, fewer trips to the shop, less work, and less cleaning. Story 7. Replace impulse buying by adding items to lists. For me, taking a photo and adding it to the maybe ask for a birthday list satisfies the same impulse without the cost. Story 8. Sailing the seas. I have saved thousands on subscription services since I learned how to do it on Reddit. Story 9. Meal plans and meal prep led to a great deal of money wasted on food that ended up in the bin, on lunches at work, and on needless duplications because I had forgotten we already had the items. Story 10. Pay your credit card in full each month. Limit going out for entertainment, such as movies, restaurants, and shows. Story 11. I limit myself to shopping for clothing in person. Being able to try everything before buying reduces returns, saves time on shipping items back, and lowers the chance of losing money by forgetting to return something. Limiting my choices and requiring a trip to a physical store makes me spend less overall. I used to spend thousands on clothes each year chasing Instagram trends that were not yet available in my city. I was always looking for the perfect item. In the end, I still was not satisfied with my wardrobe because I bought based on photographs, without being able to tell whether something was worth it or suited my life. There are downsides to having fewer choices, but for me it made everything easier and significantly reduced my spending. Story 12. I keep a self-imposed ingredients household. I make my own bread, do not buy processed or pre-made foods, buy and cook in bulk when possible and freeze leftovers. Saves me a ton of money on groceries and I love to cook, so it is a win-win. People do not realize how expensive it is not to cook. Story 13. Bringing lunch to work. Paying $13 or more for a salad is criminal. Story 14. I use only 1 or 2 tablespoons of laundry soap, depending on the size of the load. It lasts me well over 6 months. Story 15. Not being into whatever is a popular collectible like Labubu, Funko Pops, or Pokemon cards. Story 16. I do not drink alcohol regularly. I do not order it in establishments that serve it, and I do not purchase it at grocery or liquor stores. I will have a drink if it is offered at a social event. That is the only time I have it. As a result, I drink only on rare occasions and at no financial cost. These conditions mean my alcohol consumption is extremely low and has no financial impact. Story 17. Cooking at home can save money, improve health, and serve as a rewarding hobby and form of therapy. Remember how many people started making sourdough during lockdown? Story 18. Plan your trips in advance. Rather than driving to a single store and back, plan to visit multiple locations, even if that means delaying a trip by a day or two. Story 19. I do not need much in life. It saves me money. Every now and again I go on a spree, buying expensive appliances or traveling, and my boyfriend says the math is not adding up. He spends too much on little things that drain the budget. He buys whatever he sees in the store. I buy only what I need. Would go more often to buy smaller amounts of groceries if I were buying items that spoil quickly. He buys in bulk and lets them go to waste. I cook a meal and always have leftovers to eat the next day. He wants a new meal every day, so at the end of the month he borrows money from his mother. It is what it is. Story 20. Cut your own hair. Invest in a quality set of hair clippers. I have probably saved thousands over the years. Story 21. Driving a 10-year-old truck that is paid off. Making my morning coffee at home. packing a lunch for work, choosing happy hour instead of late-night dinner dates, primarily buying items on sale, spending less than $1,000 on clothes annually, not buying new electronics or appliances unless they are broken beyond repair. Story 22. Digital coupons and fuel points save thousands of dollars, and I get $1 off almost every gallon of gas I buy. Takes 10 minutes a week at most. Story 23. The list is too long, but paying down and avoiding consumer debt has produced substantial cost savings. Leveraging good debt has also been a major multiplier of net worth. Story 24. I gave up driving. I am lucky to live in a city with good transit. If I need to transport something large, the abundance of cheap car sharing is very useful. Otherwise, I use an electric bike, which costs about the same as the next trim level on a new car. Story 25. Form the habit first and buy the gear second. I've bought things like a Fitbit because I thought it would motivate me to run more, only to run once and never use it again. You can always borrow a tent or a racket to try hiking or tennis. If you get into it, then buy the proper gear. Story 26. I never order delivery. I either go out or pick it up. Ideally, I make it myself, but you know. Story 27. Drink only tap water, even at restaurants. It adds up. Story 28. I am always looking for better pricing on utilities. The laziness tax is the worst. Story 29. Quitting smoking, weed, drinking, and caffeine. I'm rolling in it. Story 30. Categorize items by urgency and frequency. Prioritize them according to a hierarchy of importance. Frequency refers to how often you need an item. Ask yourself, do I need this frequently, monthly, or can I skip it? Urgency refers to whether an item must be acquired immediately. Emergencies are unexpected needs, such as a blown tire or a suddenly dead phone. The purchase should resolve what you need at the moment. Even if you find something appealing or potentially helpful, ask yourself those two questions. Importance determines which item to buy first. Survival, needs, and wants. Story 31. One frugal habit that has saved me more than I expected is disconnecting from big technology platforms and joining communities focused on anti-consumption and intentional buying. It is surprising how much less I spend when shopping is not guided by tracking algorithms or ads, and instead I can connect with people who value thoughtful, purposeful purchases. People now share practical tips in communities such as the Reddit community on your intent. Personal stories about buying less and choosing items more intentionally, and strategies to avoid ad-driven spending are very helpful. If this interests you, those discussions may be useful. Story 32. I love Celsius energy drinks, but $3 a can adds up quickly. So I buy the powder packets from local grocery stores or Amazon. $10 gets you 14 packets, about a week's supply. I mix them into bottled water. They are not fizzy. I'm saving a lot of money. Story 33. I do not make impulse purchases. I add items to my cart and wait a few weeks. Only if I still need them do I make the purchase. Story 34. I buy birthday and holiday gifts throughout the year when I see good deals. Story 35. Frugal habits have a cumulative effect. No single habit is especially significant on its own. Two habits I practice are cutting my own hair and making homemade pizza. I make pizza weekly. I cook almost all my meals, but pizza is something many people order out even when they cook at home. Story 36. We do a lot of home maintenance and upgrades ourselves. So I made all our curtains, which would have been much more expensive. I also shop for fabric when it is on sale. Story 37. Drink water, especially when you pass many drive-thrus or when you're at the grocery store. Only buy what you came for. Avoid unnecessary items. Story 38. I meal prep for the work week. Rice, pasta, vegetables, and oats for breakfast. I make my own stovetop coffee. I have not gone out for breakfast or brunch in years. The money saved goes toward one nice meal out each week. Story 39. Store-brand soft drinks, snacks, dairy, and so on. I order groceries for pickup almost exclusively. This saves time, reduces exposure to weirdos, and limits impulse purchases. Story 40. I avoid sugary drinks and group orders at my office. In Vietnam, we have developed a workplace culture of ordering sugary drinks together every afternoon. In some places, people make 2 to 3 orders per day, and most of those drinks are expensive compared with the average Vietnamese income. I have avoided this trend for more than 6 years, and when I calculate it, I have saved almost $4,000, which is a substantial amount that could have been used to buy many things. I talked to some close coworkers, but they shrugged it off with a "you only live once" attitude. I just wish they would not develop diabetes or cardiovascular disease. Story 41. Always buy cars, never lease, and drive them well past 100,000 miles or 10 years before changing them. Some people report having had 20 cars in 20 years. I have been driving for decades and have owned only a few cars. If you save the money that would have gone to car payments and invest it, you could have $1 million or more by the time you retire just from car savings. Story 42. Track your money. Write down where every dollar goes, and you'll be amazed at how much small purchases add up. Story 43. I calculate how many hours I would need to work to pay for it and decide if it is worth my time. Story 44. Before buying something expensive, masturbate. Do you still want it when you have post-orgasm clarity? Story 45. I am in the military. Safety razors have saved me hundreds of dollars because the blades cost pennies and last far longer, about 7 to 10 shaves, than multi-blade Gillette razors. Story 46. Meal prepping. I don't do portioning, but I try to buy in bulk when items are on sale. Glass food storage containers and a vacuum sealer make it much easier. And don't buy your coffee at Starbucks or Dunkin' every day. A few days a month is fine, but let's be honest. That pumpkin spice latte can be replicated at home with a $7 bottle of pumpkin spice creamer and your favorite single-serve coffee pod or a French press. Story 47. Eating at home and taking the electric bike instead of the car. Story 48. Unplugging anything that I am not currently using or charging. Last month, the electricity bill was $60 US. Story 49. I do my own car maintenance and basic repairs. I am shocked when I learn how much others pay for shop labor. Story 50. A while back, I tried a miserable elimination diet that ultimately taught me nothing about my condition. The one big takeaway is that 99% of what I drink now is water. I have coffee every day. Otherwise, I drink only water. It saves money, reduces my sugar intake considerably, and I barely miss other beverages. Story 51. Based on many posts here, people do not use digital subscriptions and do not plan to use any. Story 52. Change car insurance about once a year. Just because a company was the cheapest last time doesn't mean it still is. I know people who pay per month what I pay for 6 months. Story 53. I do not use DoorDash or Eat Out. It still blows my mind that people pay more than $30 for a burger and fries delivered by DoorDash. Story 54. If you have small children, I cannot emphasize enough how useful it is to regularly check the nearest secondhand store for clothes and toys. You can find lots of high-quality items that are barely used and very inexpensive. For example, new Duplo is expensive and sets include few pieces, but sometimes someone donates their child's collection and you can pick up a large bag with 4 or 5 sets for about $5. My son's fall jacket would cost about $100 new, but we got it for less than $10 in like new condition. Children outgrow and lose interest in things so quickly. Story 55. Buying discounted coffee beans and making long blacks at home instead of buying them. It works out to about $1 per coffee or less, instead of $5.50. That is $22.50 a week in savings, or $1,170 a year. I also use the Petrol Spy app to follow petrol price cycles and fill up on or near the cheapest days of the week and month. That saves at least a few $1,000s a year. Story 56. I eat at my parents' house on weekends. They are happy to have company, and I get 2 free meals per week. Win-win situation. Story 57. Don't order drinks while eating out. Every so often, sure, but in general, water is fine. Story 58. Eat and have coffee at home in the morning, then drink water for the rest of the day. Story 59. Dude, the truth is you can never buy anything that will turn into virtue. Money comes and goes. But man, it feels good to save money where others do not look. It makes me feel like a singular genius to save $2 compared to the next guy. As for the habit, I just know that I do not need to buy anything that will not last. I really only make it a point to buy food and a roof. This habit, over time, leaves a lot of leftover money to spend when I feel like it. I think I spend $5,000 or more on most vacations, and that is only for me. Story 60. I cook at home almost every day, and it saves far more than people think. Story 61. Making lunch saves $15 each time and is probably healthier. I make my own coffee instead of paying between $2 and $7. Starbucks is ridiculously expensive. I have a $5 per month sip club at the Panera by my office and get a coffee at breakfast and a lemonade at lunch twice a week. I have that until January, then I will go back to making my own. Story 62. When you cook meals at home, you would be shocked how fast eating out drains your wallet. Story 63. I do not keep my debit card information saved on my phone, so I have to get up and retrieve it if I want to shop online. Half the time, it is not worth it. Story 64. Letting go of the need to follow trends of any kind is better for your finances, the environment, and your sanity. Story 65. I set my thermostat to energy-saving recommended settings, 68 degrees Fahrenheit in winter and 78 degrees Fahrenheit in summer, and I turn it off if the outdoor temperature is not significantly colder or warmer than those settings. My bills are much lower than the average in my area. Story 66. I use the library instead of buying new books that I might read only once or not finish. Story 67. Calculating the cost of an item based on the number of hours or days you must work to afford it. Story 68. I pay my credit card balance in full every month. The less I buy, the less I have to pay. Story 69. I use my lunch break to go to the grocery store every Monday and buy bread, meat, cheese, lettuce, and cottage cheese for about $24. That provides me breakfast, lunch, and snacks for the entire week. Story 70. It is not so much frugality as an action that pays me because I do not have to buy things. I provide feedback and recommendations to companies about products I purchase. My feedback can be positive, negative, or mixed. I learned that some brands dislike average ratings and will offer full refunds to convince customers to remove reviews rated 3 stars or lower. Sometimes this leads to larger opportunities, such as receiving new products for review and becoming a beta tester. One company sends me a new mower every year. I stress test it and report flaws. A retailer for one of my hobbies sends me $2,000 in goods each year to try out. Later this year, I will be beta testing a new 3-dimensional printer based on recommendations I made to the brand. Story 71. Masturbation prevents me from spending money on casual partners and girlfriends. Laughing out loud. Story 72. I had a favorite computer game with great replay value. When I played World of Warcraft in the early days after its launch, all my time and energy were spent there for the low price of $12.99 per month. I felt no need to go out for drinks, parties, or short vacations when that time and energy could be spent playing. Story 73. Do not eat out. Have a plan before you go to the supermarket. Buy food for the rest of the week. When I have money left over at the end of the month, I put 50% aside. I allow myself to buy items if I need them. The rest goes to savings and will not be touched until a real emergency arises. Story 74. I left Company A for Company B. Company A's retention team called and offered a good rate, which I accepted. Later, Company B's retention team offered an even better rate. I asked Company A to beat it, and they did. I ended up paying 27% less for electricity than when I started. Story 75. I use a combination of a vacuum sealer, meal prep, and a kitchen scale. I prepare 6 days' worth of either fully cooked or ready-to-cook lunches and dinners. I do not eat breakfast, so I have minimal effort before and after my workday. By weighing ingredients, I produce very little waste. My at-home food bill is now about $50 to $60 per week as a single person, compared with well over $150 per week before. Story 76. I mostly eat at home and buy generic but good quality brands such as Kirkland, when the ingredients listed on the packaging are the same. For online shopping and non-grocery purchases, I almost never pay full retail price. Use Google or artificial intelligence to scour the internet for discount codes, or use a browser extension such as Rakuten to do it for you. This also works for treats like Disney or Legoland and similar attractions. Finally, if you work for a large company, many have corporate codes you can enter for hotel stays that provide significant savings. Ask your employer for the code if you do not already know it. Story 77. As a man, I shave my own head. I have not been to a barber in decades. I never use food delivery apps. I drive and pick up the food myself, so I do not need to tip. I do not pay for monthly subscription services that I do not use or do not use enough to justify the cost. Story 78. I am trying hard not to make impulsive purchases. If I wait a day, I rarely buy anything. Need is greater than want. Story 79. Choosing clothing that I will enjoy wearing for a long time or buying secondhand. 1. Set a $2 per wear limit for clothes that I buy. For a jacket that I will wear for a couple of years, I will pay $200, but for a shirt that I might wear once a week for a season, the maximum is $35. 2. If I buy something, it replaces an item hanging in my closet. I take items that I did not wear or wore only once during the season to the resale shop and use that money to replace those items. Story 80. When I shop for anything other than groceries, I usually do not buy it the first time I see it. I wait at least a week, and if I still need it on a second visit, I buy it. Story 81. I avoid replacing items that still function well, avoid buying unnecessary items, and eat out as little as possible. Story 82. One of my wife's most irritating habits was turning on every light and the TV in a room, then leaving to take a shower. I would get up, turn the lights and TV off, make lunches, and get our daughter dressed. She would come out, turn everything back on, then return to the bedroom to get dressed, and before she came back the lights and TV would be off again. She grew up in a family where the TV was on all the time because her alcoholic, drug-using father would get wasted and pass out in his easy chair until her mother returned from the night shift. Story 83. I bought a motorbike instead of a car. It saves so much on fuel, maintenance, and the initial purchase cost. None of my peers even consider using a bike because of their stature. Not only does it save a lot of money, it also saves time. In my city, traffic is a nuisance, and navigating it by bike cuts travel time by at least half. Definitely a practical purchase. Story 84. I used digital coupons and I started recycling my plastic bottles and cans. One trip netted me about $40. Story 85. I am lazy. I will only buy something if I physically go out to get it. I do not use delivery for fast food. Staying home, eating what is in the fridge, and wearing whatever is in the closet instead of going out to shop saves a significant amount of money. Story 86. Use heating and air conditioning less. I have found that much of my comfort level is adaptable. In winter, I put on a sweater or hoodie, thermal underwear, and wool socks before I turn up the heat. I sit behind a desk a lot for work and study, and when I do that in winter, I wear a blanket hoodie. It is extremely comfortable and inexpensive. In summer, it is the other way around. A wet bandana combined with a simple desk fan is just as helpful as turning on the air conditioning. Combine this with other temperature improvements like good insulation and reflective curtains to keep the sun out, and compared to friends who do not do this, I save 150 to 250 euros per month without losing any comfort. Story 87. There is some good advice here. It is unfortunate that many of these tips essentially mean do not have nice things. Story 88. Buying food that is cheap or in bulk, or reduced or free via pickup apps. Cooking from scratch and in bulk. Turning lights and electrical devices off. Taking 5-minute showers. Keeping the heating on only to take the chill off rather than heating the whole house. Buying secondhand items to satisfy the impulse to buy something. Our food and utility bills are lower as a family of 2 adults and 2 toddlers than for some couples and single people without children that we know. I do not understand how they can use so much energy and water. We all shower every day and we are not sitting in the cold and dark. Story 89. After everything is paid, including bills, food, fuel, and other items, I use what is left of my budget, not including what goes into savings, and cash it out using only that money. At the end of the week, whatever is left over I put in a tin. At the end of the year, I deposit it into the bank and will have between 2 and 5,000 extra. I do not take my wallet with me during the work week, nor do I have any cards on my phone. It helps out a lot. Story 90. I rarely eat fast food or buy anything from a convenience store or gas station except for gas. I never buy bottled water. I have made only 3 purchases from a vending machine in the past year. I do not drink coffee or buy overpriced items from coffee shops. Story 91. If you have few subscriptions, you do not need every streaming service at the same time. You can subscribe to only one and rotate subscriptions over time. Avoid useless subscriptions. They add up quickly. Story 92. Canceling Amazon Prime, rotating streaming services, and sometimes going without any. Story 93. I'm an unsweetened iced tea loving fool. If limits aren't placed on my consumption, I would drink 3 Starbucks Trenta drinks or more a day. I've been buying a huge box of Aldi brand black tea bags and making my own. They taste much better. I can make them as strong as I like, and they are much cheaper. Story 94. I'm not interested in buying a personal vehicle because I work from home and do not need one. Story 95. Quality over quantity. My best example is socks. I used to buy the cheapest ones, and they would disintegrate after 2 months. I decided to buy high-quality, mid-price socks, and 2 years later they still look like new. For items that are too expensive when new, like electronics, I buy them used but still choose quality. Story 96. I give myself at least 12 hours to sleep on it and carefully consider every major purchase. Story 97. If the purchase is over $100, wait a day or 2 before buying it to see if you still want or need it. Story 98. Stop drinking beer. You will save about 1,040 euros or $1,200 per year if you consume 4 beers a week. Story 99. Buying gift cards at grocery stores using a credit card that awards 6% back on grocery purchases and stacking that with fuel points can yield an effective savings of 15% or more. Story 100. I have never bought a brand new car. I only buy cars that are 2 to 3 years old. These vehicles were previously leased and then returned to the dealership. Since they were leased, oil changes and regular maintenance were done, so you do not typically encounter the hidden problems of an older used car. Many of my coworkers drive new Audi and Tesla vehicles that cost more than $80,000. I drive a 2022 Chevrolet crossover, and I take public transit and Waymo when I can. I see friends and coworkers spend hundreds of thousands of dollars over time buying new cars every few years. My previous car was a General Motors Company crossover that I bought when it was 2 years old and kept for 10 years. It is astonishing how much one can save by doing this. Story 101. No subscriptions at all. Subscriptions are scams these days, and I will never fall for them. Story 102. My wife makes stock from meat and vegetable trimmings. Freeze the scraps you cut off meats, vegetables, and fruits. Put them in a crock pot with some water and seasonings if you want. Let it cook overnight, and you will have stock to use for soups and other dishes. I have not bought stock in over a year and a half, and now that stuff is expensive. Story 103. When you bargain, larger purchases can save you even more. Many people are shy about asking for a discount. It is often cultural. You might be surprised how much money you can save simply by asking. Story 104. I am not buying a $40,000 car and paying $5,000 in cash. It is insane how much cars cost now. Story 105. I tell myself sometimes that I will buy it later. I made a list of things I wanted from Amazon that I felt I needed, but then I decided not to buy them. The items have been sitting in my cart for 6 months and I no longer feel the need to buy any of them. I procrastinated my way out of buying things I do not need. Story 106. I don't eat out because I'm too lazy to cook. I eat out for the experience only a few times a month. Story 107. I do not bring a bank card to work, and I do not have mobile payments set up on my phone. I cannot give in to the temptation to buy lunch at work when I have no money on me. Story 108. Learn how to cook and do it well. That includes meal planning and creating a weekly menu that uses ingredients before they are past their prime. Many people believe their cooking is poor and prefer to eat out. If that habit continues, the skill never develops. Keep a mental inventory of what is in your fridge and pantry. I often see duplicate items, especially among snowbirds or people who frequently stay at a partner's home. It is wasteful and takes up space to have 4 of the same item that is not used consistently, and those items are often thrown away after they expire. Story 109. Pay-as-you-go phone plan. No data. No contract. Airtime balance carries over if the account is topped up before the expiration date. $100 can last a year. Story 110. I automatically save a large, fixed percentage every month so I can enjoy the rest of my money, worry, and stress-free, and do whatever I want with it. Story 111. I don't buy alcohol anymore. I won't refuse a drink if someone else buys it, but I'm not spending my money on alcohol. It has saved my wallet and waistband. Story 112. Drink water at restaurants. 3 drinks can easily equal the cost of another meal at some places, and I'm not even talking about alcohol. Review your cell phone plan and cable internet every 2 to 3 years. Many providers raise prices over that time, and simply asking about new deals can save you a lot of money. Only keep a plan if it is clearly better for you. You can change your cell phone plan whenever you buy a new phone. Don't stick with a provider unless there's a good reason. Switching providers regularly can save money long-term unless one offers significantly better coverage in your area. Learn to cook basic meals. Nothing fancy, just simple ingredients combined to make something nice. Eating out is expensive, and prepackaged grocery meals or meal kits can cost almost as much. But buying simple ingredients and cooking 3 meals worth of food in one night can be very inexpensive. Story 113. Budget a yearly fun fund and gift fund. Make a wish list of needs, wants, and gift items. Track spending and item price history. Story 114. Coronavirus disease 2019 forced me to learn to cut my own hair. Now I save $600 or more per year, especially with how expensive haircuts have become. Story 115. I learned to use an old-fashioned safety razor about 15 years ago. I was spending too much and creating too much waste buying disposable plastic razors. I still have the same razor from an antique store and a pack of 200 blades I bought for $30 back then. I did the math and I spend about 1 cent per shave. I also saved money because I no longer need moisturizer, aftershave, or skin cream for irritation or ingrown hairs, since the safety razor does not cut hair so short that it causes them. Story 116. When I see something I want but do not need, I add it to my Christmas 2025 wish list on Amazon. Whenever someone asks what I want or for my birthday, I just send the list. It is often full of things I would love to have but cannot justify spending my own money on. Story 117. I do work on the house and the cars myself. I limit eating out. I avoid buying things on impulse. I focus on needs rather than wants, with the occasional splurge. Story 118. You only need a pea-sized drop of toothpaste to effectively brush your teeth. Many dental commercials show people using far too much and slathering their toothbrush to encourage you to run out faster. Story 119. My banking app automatically moves the pennies left after every purchase into savings. I also have a rule that whenever I log in, I must transfer the amount needed to round my balance down to the nearest £10 into my savings account, unless that would cause financial difficulty. It does not save a lot, but over the course of a year, it can build a small emergency fund. Story 120. Keep snacks in your car or bag, so you have no excuse to buy something. Story 121. Don't buy chicken breast. Buy a whole chicken carcass and butcher it yourself. Major cost savings. Story 122. I do not spend money at work. No specialty coffees, vending machine snacks, daily lunches, buying Tommy's fundraiser hoagies, giving money to wear jeans, football pools, or other nonsense. Occasional social lunches, maybe twice a year, are an exception. Work is where I make money, not where I spend it. I do fine for myself now, but I remember working at GetGo as a teenager and watching people spend half of our miserable paychecks at the store. We made $6.50 an hour. They were spending 2 hours of labor on a sandwich, a bag of chips, and a soda. It really stuck with me. Story 123. I check whether an item I want is available secondhand before going to a regular store. At this point in my life, many of my belongings are previously owned. Story 124. I wait until my next paycheck. Most of the time, I forget what I was going to buy. Story 125. Use grocery store apps to get extra coupons and plan shopping on days with extra gas points. Story 126. Putting items in online shopping carts and forgetting them. Story 127. Pack my lunch every day. Buy a pack of 12 drinks and leave it at the office instead of buying one from the vending machine. Stick with me. I live in New York City. Last month my wife and I spent less than $200 on all of our transportation for both of us because of the subway. That is how much car insurance would cost us for one vehicle, not to mention a car payment, gas, and parking at work. Story 128. I transfer a large portion of my salary into savings and investments the day I get paid, then convince myself that the remainder must last for the rest of the month. Occasionally, if I have a large purchase, I put it on my credit card and pay the bill the next month, adjusting my savings accordingly. We always keep food at home, which saves a lot of money. Story 129. I go to 2 different grocery stores, Safeway and Kroger, which are right across the street from each other, using multiple accounts and loaded coupons. If I see a deal on many items, I grab 15 to 20 packages and use multiple accounts at checkout. Most coupon sites have browser extensions that log in and automatically load the coupons. As a brief example, Barron's Pizza was on sale a few weeks ago, with a limit of 5 at $1.69 each. I used 4 accounts to buy 20 pizzas. I am not a fan of that pizza, but my kids are. I put them in the freezer and in a few months they are all gone. I have done this with many items for the last 20 years, and it really pays off. Story 130. Not buying a car every few years is a good way to avoid living paycheck to paycheck and save money. Story 131. Wear clothes indefinitely and buy new ones only when there is no other option, such as once or twice a year. Story 132. Car maintenance includes oil changes, brake service, spark plug replacement, and front and rear differential fluid changes. An onboard diagnostics 2 reader is useful. Sure, you have to buy a few tools, but the next time you need to do the work, you will not be spending $500 on brake pads at the shop. Any monkey with half a brain can do these things, and with YouTube you can look up your exact car. Story 133. I buy all our clothes off-season. My husband has an entire row of name-brand golf shirts that retail for $65 or more, which I bought for under $10 each. My winter sweaters cost around $20 each instead of their original price of $90. When the season returns and I pull out the clothes, they all feel new to me. Story 134. Having a beer alone at home with a book rather than going out with friends saves me a lot. Story 135. My husband needs to feel like he got a deal when we buy something. If it goes on sale the following week, it gets under his skin for ages. It really annoys him. For things we do not need, he will check which retailer has it cheaper. If no other retailer has it on sale or cheaper and we do not need it now, he would rather wait to see if it goes on sale than buy it and then see it on sale the next week. He tries to get the total savings as close to the amount we spent as possible. It is so ingrained that my mom will find a really good deal and share it with my husband and they have a heck yeah moment. It honestly saves so much money. We got a fair discount on a car because one tire had an issue that made it illegal. My husband knew they would put generic tires on, so he said do not change the tires and he would replace them with the tires he wanted, but they should deduct the value from the car. We got about $4,000 off the car, and new proper tires cost about $2,000. So yes, it works. It is annoying for me because I am impatient, but it really does save money. Story 136. When I need to buy something, I first check whether I can buy it secondhand. Story 137. I only buy what I need at the grocery store. I made my girlfriend put back a second lemon when we only needed one, and that cost 35 cents. That was a while ago. I also turn off the lights in rooms I am not using. Story 138. Riding a bike to work may not sound like much, but commuting by bike using my own power has saved me a surprising amount of money. I no longer have to sit in the intense traffic near my home and workplace, which has saved me time and sanity. Story 139. I canceled subscriptions I don't need, such as Paramount and Hulu, because I hardly ever watch them and prefer to save money. They are overpriced. Story 140. If I go to a store because I need a particular item and I don't find that item, I don't buy other items. This happens mostly at Marshall's, TJ Maxx, HomeGoods, and similar stores where you can easily end up with a cart full of random pretty things. Story 141. I drink coffee at home and make my own lunch. I am barely spending €40 per month. Story 142. Swapping meat for beans and lentils. I started for health reasons and to get more fiber, but I noticed it takes a big chunk off my grocery bills, and beans do not go bad in a few days like meat, so it reduces waste. I meal prep a dense bean salad to take for lunches all week. I am not vegetarian, but it is not an every meal thing anymore. I also spend what amounts to a small country's gross domestic product on fresh fruit, but that is not something I can give up. Story 143. Buying expensive items. I follow Boots theory in my everyday life, and generally it works. Identify what you want and splurge on the good one once instead of buying inferior versions repeatedly. Story 144. I buy syrup from SodaStream and pour it into the soda water I get from Aldi. No gas, no machine. Story 145. Money Mondays. I only spend money on frivolous things on Mondays. If I see something I want on Wednesday and I still want it the following Monday, I buy it. It stops me from making impulse purchases, and I usually forget what I wanted by the time Monday rolls around. Story 146. We pack our own food before we leave the house. We bring coffee, baked goods, fruit, vegetables, crackers with dips, and sandwiches. I cannot justify paying $3 for a can of soda or $7 for a coffee, and a meal out for our family is at least $100. Even fast food burger chains cost around $50 for a meal, so we pack a cooler of food and drinks and stop in parks to eat when we are out for the day. As a bonus, my toddler will eat the food and not have a meltdown because they cannot fathom a sandwich cut the wrong way. Story 147. Online grocery shopping. I am able to stay on budget by tracking the total cost and putting back items I do not need. It is much harder to do this when you are shopping in store and tempted with impulse purchases. Story 148. Buy it for life. If an item will be used constantly and the pricier option is likely to last much longer than the cheaper one, choose the pricier option when your budget allows. You will save money in the long run and enjoy better build quality. Case in point, boots, shoes, mattresses. A $400 pair of welted leather boots will easily outlast a $100 overmolded pair and is far more reparable. Story 149. I consider myself an in-person and online window shopper. I take pictures of items I like or leave tabs open. If I find myself returning to them days later, I consider buying. I look for lower-cost options such as second-hand items or sales. I limit my spending to weekends. It gives me time to think about potential purchases and avoid impulse buys. Story 150. I never buy things unless they are discounted. There is always a good duplicate, substitute, or pre-owned option somewhere for less. Story 151. I turned the boiler temperature down. That saves gas because the water is heated less, and it saves water because my shower stays at the perfect temperature, so I do not need to add cold water to balance it. Story 152. This post has turned into, what is a frugal habit you have that saves you money? Story 153. Washing your posterior with a bidet saves money on toilet paper. Story 154. Jay-Z or Dr. Dre said it best. If you cannot afford to buy it twice, you cannot afford it. Thinking about it helps me decide whether I really want it. Story 155. Working from home saves me about £600 each month after tax. So I would have to earn an extra £1,000 a month just to justify being in an office. There are no bus or train fares, no Pret lunch or coffee, and no access to shops. I am not sure any other frugal measure would save me as much. This year we reached a state of extreme frugality and have not had a permanent place to live for 7 months, so we have been house-sitting for wealthy people. Approximately £25,000 saved. My husband's employer pays for his car and fuel, and we have very few bills. We currently spend about £1,500 per month. When we move back in, it will be £4,000 per month. Story 156. I save a lot of money by not buying cigarettes or alcohol. If I want to drink or smoke, I wait for someone else to buy it. My friends let me take drags from their cigarettes. And because I work in a bar, my coworkers and I take home half-empty wine bottles at the end of the night. Also, since starting my weight loss journey, I have eaten lunch about twice a week. Food is very expensive. Story 157. Tossing garbage into a nearby apartment complex dumpster saves $80 per month. Story 158. Ethics. It is hard to spend money if you avoid companies that do harm. Story 159. Dating women with careers instead of spoiled children with adult bodies. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.